Okay, why don't we get started? It's 1 minute after. So Sertan is co-chair of SERVSIG, and he'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm not trying to be mysterious, but I'm at the airport and the lighting is not good. So my name is Sertan Kabade. I have the pleasure and privilege of serving as the SERVSIG co-chair. So thank you for being in this event. This is one of the series of SERVSIG events that we hope to have this year. I would like to thank our panelists, our speakers, journal editors, co-editors. I know that you are very busy, but making time for this event means a lot for our community, so thank you. And the final thanks goes to Andrew Gallen, who is the mastermind behind today's event, and he took care of all the logistics, all the planning. So Andrew, thank you very much. So I have to catch my flight, so I will be listening to you. Thank you again for being here. Have a great day. Andrew?
Thank you, Sertan. Yeah, it's my pleasure to host this. My position with SERVSIG is the mentoring officer. And so we put together this event to allow young scholars. We have, as I mentioned before, we have about 75 RSVPs. This is recorded. It's going to be on the SERVSIG website for people to see afterwards. And I see from the response, from the number of RSVPs, that this is an extraordinarily important and valuable resource to have for young scholars. We have Ph.D. students, doctoral candidates, early career assistant professors, some early career associate professors, postdocs. We have a variety of different young emerging services scholars who have RSVP'd to this event. And from all over the globe, we have the vast majority of European countries. We have people from the UK, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. We have folks from Africa. We have folks from Asia and New Zealand and Australia. So we have people from really from all corners of the globe. And so thank you to the editors for agreeing to be a part of this and to offer your time and guidance and support to our emerging scholar community. So the first thing I'd like to do is allow each of the editors a few minutes, and I think I allowed you to share your screen if you'd like. If you have some slides, if not, that's no big deal. But to give each of the editors a few minutes to talk about their journal and to give us some insight as to what their journal is about, what they're looking for, and how you can contribute to their journal. So maybe we can start with Ming-Hui Huang, who's the editor-in-chief of Journal of Service Research. Oh, you're muted, Ming-Hui.
So Andrew, thank you for organizing this event. I think it's very important and very interesting. We do have a lot to say to our junior scholars. And I will share the screen and make the first part of my presentation. The first part is just an introduction of JSR, and I will reserve the second part about how to write a good paper and how to submit a paper, how to review the paper, that sort of things, in the second part of my presentation. So I assume you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is who I am, and this is Journal of Service Research and how the journal look like. And let me show this one. And I want to show briefly about some of our metrics. And the purpose of to show these metrics is not to show off, because it's always sometimes it's done. But I want to show that we reflect the impact factor, and our scope size score reflects our vision. So for the 2021 Web of Science impact factor, we have about 10, and the five-year impact factor 12.13. That is very high on top of a lot of marketing journals and service journals. And for the scope size score, and also it's very high, it's 16.3. And what I want to mention is you can see that that's second out of 1,345 sociology and the political science journals is top 1%. And it's 10th out of 2,087 business management and accounting journals. And what these metrics show is that JSR really go for impactful papers, not papers that just to fill in a very, very narrow a literature gap. We don't. That is not kind of paper we want to go for. For example, you have a paper and you just want to add one variable to the existing theory. We think that is not. They won't generate any real impact. And also the scope size score showed that we are really multidisciplinary, and that also reflect the SERVSIG name. It's not service marketing SIG, and it's not service management SIG. It's SERVSIG. So it means it's very inclusive. It's inclusive. It's a leader. It's a leader. We want to be a leader in the service community, just like SERVSIG is a leader in the service community. It's inclusive to of all service disciplines. And so we are not just service marketing. We are not just service management. We are not just service science. We are everything. Anything about service. So they also refer naturally, we are a multidisciplinary journals. So all service relevant papers are welcome. And we are also a global journal. So that also reflect naturally that I'm situated in Asia and in Taiwan, especially Taiwan has been on the top line these days. And we aim to publish impact for research. That is, you need to address an important unresolved questions instead of just simply fill small gaps in the literature. And we are also want to be frontier. It means that we are willing to develop important novel ideas with authors, even if initially the submission is not rigorous enough. But as long as the topic is good, and then we can see the value, then we are willing to develop with authors. In the methodology, we work on multiple methods and multiple sources of data. That is very important. Usually one type of method, for example, scenario-based experiments, probably won't survive in JSR. And our implications, we want to be relevant to all service stakeholders. For example, in healthcare, your stakeholder is more like the patient, and in the service marketing, your stakeholder is more like service customers. So we aim to be relevant to all service stakeholders. And so I want to briefly do some marketing. That is, we have 2 ongoing special issues. JSR only sponsors 2 special issues every year. So for the 2 ongoing one, we have smart service failure and recovery, and you can see the co-editors. And one important thing is that we are going to have a pre-conference author workshop at 2023 Frontiers in Service Conference. That is in the Netherlands. So proposal submission deadline is March 15. You still have time to work on it. And that is a very valuable opportunity for you to discuss your paper face-to-face with our co-editors and AEs, and so that you can get a better idea about how to develop your paper so that you can submit it by the deadline August 1st. And then the other one is human-robot interactions in service. JSR only have 2 special issues per year, and we use the special issues to set the research agenda. So the theme of the special issue, so that's what we think about important now, and that is also suggest to you that those are the important topics that you should work on. You can consider to work on. And so similarly, we also have a pre-conference workshop, author workshop for this special issue. So you can check out more information from the JSR website or from the Frontiers in Service Conference website. And we also finally we have the one special issue that is currently planning for 2024. It means we only have 1 slot left for the 2024. That is ergothermic service. I think it would be very important and very hot. Again, we want to use this to tell authors that this is an important area that you can work on. So I will stop here about my brief introduction about JSR, and so leave the time to other service editors.
Thank you very much, Ming-Hui. I appreciate that very much. If everyone can please mute, please. Everyone please mute, because there's something, thank you. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions later on, and there's also a chat function where at any point you can type in a question and we'll come back to it. But please stay muted at all times because it was a bit distracting. Thank you very much. Full disclosure, I've been on the editorial review board of JSR through, I think, 3 or 4 editors, published in Journal of Service Management, Service Industries Journal, know Rebecca very well, first time meeting Chatura and Levent, but I'm sure we'll meet at some conference here in the future. So second, I'd like to introduce Jay Kandampully, who is the editor-in-chief of Journal of Service Management. Jay, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Andrew, for inviting, and hello to everyone, all the editors and those people who are attending. Welcome, and I don't think I need to add too much more than what Ming-Hui has already indicated. Almost all editors look for impactful journal articles. Okay. So I don't think any one of us will be different from that. So one of the things that I would like to add is that if you think that you have a great idea and you're working on a great idea, just send me an email. I'm happy to talk to you over the phone or on Zoom or whatever you want. So JFSM is very approachable. And I normally meet up with people, as authors. So if you have concerns, because there is a limit how much you can put up in a website, the publishers, they decide, but I can decide how much I can talk to you. So I can explain things over the telephone or Zoom or whatever you want to make things clearer in terms of what is possible and what is not, and give you some guidelines, helpful suggestions. Okay, so reach out to me if you would like anything that you would like to discuss with me or with the journal per se. With regards to, I would like to add some more, the impact factors and everything. You can look at it, all journals, it's all online. So what's different in JOSM? Personalized approach. And that's, I think, is the most differential factor. Service is a personalized aspect. Individualized, personalized approach is what I consider as different in JOSM, at least. And I'm sure that all other editors would do the same. But I'm saying, because if you have things that you would like to clarify, reach out to the editors. I'm sure we all have gone through all what you're going through. So we will have the time, or we'll create the time to discuss things with you. And one of the things that I might want to add here, I'm aware of the time frame Andrew has given us. So one of the things that you should think about is that I think Ming-Hui just briefed on it, but probably I might want to elaborate a little bit more for your understanding. The papers that you write are not for you. You have to make that understood. I'm not writing a paper for me. I'm writing a paper so that somebody else will benefit, and somebody else will get an idea, and somebody else will write another paper. So most of us early on in our life, we thought the paper that I write is for me. Yes, of course. But in reality, what Ming-Hui was talking about is that the impact factor. How does it impact somebody else's research? That's what I'm talking about. So if you think that this will give a lot more ideas to other people, that is the paper that will get the highest citations. So always think about how you would help somebody else, how much ideas that you would give somebody else. Nobody's going to copy your ideas. Don't worry about it. Okay. let people copy your ideas. That means that number of citations you will get. So it is a service is a helping mentality, helping mind. We are all here in order to help somebody else, not for me. Okay, so and that's a small, interesting perspective as young scholars you should have. Okay, so you are there, you are writing something or you are publishing something so that other people will benefit. Yeah, of course, in the process, you will also benefit. Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, I mean, as Bob Dylan said, you got to serve somebody, right? So we serve each other and we serve this community very nicely. So thank you. Well said. And I think the great thing about the services research community that we have here is that there are a lot of people doing a lot of interesting things, and there's a lot of space for all these journals to coexist and to find different, ways of helping out. And so I'll look, you wouldn't be here if the services research community didn't think you were representing a fine journal. So all five are very fine journals. Next, I'd like to turn our attention to Rebecca Russell-Bennett, who is one of the co-editors with Mark Rosenbaum of Journal of Services Marketing. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for being here.
Great. Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's pretty early in the morning in Australia, and I'm more of a night person. But I think these sorts of things are very important, and JSM really believes strongly in the community and in SERVSIG, so we're really happy to be here. So just a bit of a brief overview. So Mark and I are the co-editors of JSM. You can see the statistics there. We're the oldest journal of services marketing. Our rejection rate averages around about 86%. Last year's was actually 85%, so it's pretty close. One thing to draw your attention to is our editorial team diversity. So we have 19 associate editors and 2 co-editors, and of that, we're bang on 50% women, which is really nice, and it's something that we intend to maintain. And in that number, we also have 12 countries represented. So we're a really broad journal in terms of diversity of our editorial board. We strongly encourage authors from all walks of life to come and publish with us. And you can see that diversity if you just go and have a look at some of our table of contents. Okay, so some of our favourite articles. So we're very similar to the other journals in that we're looking for rigour, we're looking for multidisciplines. So what I thought I'd just talk about here is more of what makes us different rather than what we share in common with the other service journals. And so these are just some of the articles that we've published over the years. One of the reviewers for the article on visual storytelling actually said we were very brave to publish this particular article. And these were real photos of women who'd had mastectomies that had been graphically altered, as you can see there. And they were the lived experience of people who'd been through health services. We've had a great article around a systematic literature review on customers experiencing vulnerability. Now, just to mention about bibliometric studies and systematic lit reviews, we are not interested in these studies where they focus entirely on what's happened in the past. So if you've done a bibliometric study and there's a small sort of, here's where we might head section, we will desk reject that. For those studies, we want at least half the article to focus on the future. What is it that we can take out of and where can we move it? So we're getting deluged by systematic reviews and bibliometric studies. So we're taking a really hard line about papers that help us move on. And in the same way as Jay said, papers that help other people do something. We don't just want a descriptive overview of the past. So if you are doing that methodology, please think long and hard about what is the framework you're proposing? What is the research agenda? Where are we heading with this, rather than just exclusively summarising where we've been? We've published a couple of editorials. So Mark and I publish 3 to 4 editorials a year across our 9 issues. And this is the one that's probably getting the most traction. So every 2 years or so, we try and do a research priorities piece. And what we do is we take the Euromonitor trend report, which looks at customer trends, and we look at what are the service implications. So this piece is very much derived from what is going on in the real world, very much about managerial practices. And then we look for the priorities for the scholars. So it's about saying what matters to our services marketing managers. And so we've put together the latest research priorities. There's a QR code there if you want to go to that editorial. It's research priorities in the new service marketplace. So it's looking at how the world has changed as a result of the pandemic and the kind of articles that we at JSM would like. And it ranges from areas such as supply chain and staffing shortages right through to seeking self-love and self-care and social distancing concerns. And Mark has done an excellent video that goes through each of these that is on our LinkedIn page. So if you go to Journal of Services Marketing, we have a LinkedIn page and we have a Facebook page. They're both pretty active. We cover different things. So please do follow us. We'll keep you up to date on our thinking. And please do go and have a look at our editorials. So for more information, go to our website and there's a QR code that will link you to the 16 editorials that have been published since I took over in 2014 as co-editor. So thanks very much. If it's interesting, it's in JSM. Back to you, Andrew.
All right. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate it, for especially getting up early, which is very nice. Next, I'd like to introduce Chatura Ranaweera, who is, if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me, but who is the editor of Journal of Service Theory and Practice. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it very much. You're muted.
Thank you, Andrew. Let me just share my screen with you.
Sure.
I have a small problem here. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yes.
It's not moving now.
It's full
It's
screen
moving
now. There we go.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks again, Andrew. And thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation. And very nice to meet and exciting to meet the young scholars from around the world. So I'm the co-editor of the Journal of Service Theory and Practice, and my co-editor is Mariana Sigara, who is based in Greece. And Jay was the past editor of the journal, and some of you may know the journal by its former name, which was Managing Service Quality. The journal is in its, I think it's 33rd year of publication now, so it's a very well-established journal, but we went through a change in title in 2015. The journal originally had its beginnings in the service quality movement, and that's why it was titled Managing Service Quality. But over the years, we have become a more broad-based journal, and therefore we felt that the current title, which is the Journal of Service Theory and Practice, would be a more appropriate title for what we represent. So just to give a little bit of the statistics, as I mentioned, we are in the 33rd year of publication, and it is a broad-based service journal. It is multidisciplinary, so in that sense, we are not different from most other service journals. They tend to be multidisciplinary because service is at the intersection of different disciplines. And we also publish multi-method research. We are very open to publishing experimental research, survey-based research, qualitative research. These are very common. And in terms of the impact factor, I have just shown the trends. We got our first impact factor in 2011. And as you can see, we have continuously, it has been a fairly steady increase over the years, except for this one instance where when the journal title was changed, due to the way the impact factor is calculated, we got this temporary decline. Otherwise, it has been a fairly constant increase in the impact factor over the years. We have an ABDC, the Australian Business Deans Council ranking of A. And we generally get about 300 to 300 submissions per year and an acceptance rate of about 10%. Now, our acceptance rate is higher depending on the region. Some regions have substantially higher acceptance rates and certain other regions have substantially lower acceptance rates. And we do have a fairly high desk rejection rate. Just like Rebecca was mentioning, we also have about 50% desk rejection rate. And we believe that in a way helps the authors without dragging everyone through a long period of time. We give immediate feedback. And if we don't feel that a paper will end up being successful, we try to make an early decisions. And the average time to first decision is about 43 days, and time from submission to final acceptance is about 300 days. We try to expedite as much as possible, and we believe that our response rate and turnaround rates are fairly good relative to many other journals. In terms of the submissions, we get the highest number of submissions come from Australia, Taiwan, and Scandinavian countries. And we also get a lot of submissions from India and China. As a result, we are quite broad-based, very international, and there are emerging markets where we get a lot of submissions. As I mentioned, some countries do have higher acceptance rates because they are more, you find more established service researchers in those regions. But one of our aims is to be very broad-based and be open to submissions from around the world and to give opportunities to scholars from emerging nations especially. And therefore, we are always welcoming submissions from around the world. And we are always open to having a discussion with authors to help them through that submission process. And as I have noted here, we encourage and support, in addition to standard research papers, which are generally speaking in the range of 8,000 to 12,000 words, which is typical for most journals. We also encourage short papers with approximately 5,000 words, which are titled, they are under the categories of research notes. And if they are novel ideas, we would publish these short research papers. And in addition, we also publish viewpoints, which are approximately 3,000 words. And they often deal with something that is perhaps controversial, perhaps something that is very hot, I would say, a very current research topic where there is an ongoing debate, and someone wants to write a paper based on a particular perspective. We will give that opportunity to publish as a viewpoint. And we also have a lot of non-mainstream research topics. As I mentioned, we get submissions from around the world, and that means that we are perhaps even going beyond the core SERVSIG and Frontiers research communities. And as a result, we do get these non-mainstream topics as well, and we are quite open to accepting them. And we are also open to submissions from new scholars, given our diversity of publications. And just to give you a little bit of a background about some of the specialty topics, special issues that are ongoing, most of these are related to technology. We haven't published a lot of papers on technology, even though it's a very big topic in the service field. And one of the reasons for these special issues was also to fill that particular gap. We want to be part of that debate as well. So you will see some of these topics. Most of these special issues are closing in the next month or two. Some of them are ongoing, but if you have an interest in submitting, please feel free to send me an email anytime, and we are very open to a dialogue before submission. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate it. A lot of opportunities for people now. So next, I'd like to ask Levent Altinay from the Service Industries Journal to talk a little bit about his journal. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, wherever you are doing, wherever you are, whatever you are doing. I hope you are safe and healthy to start with. I think this is very, very important nowadays, given all these disasters we have been hearing from different parts of the world. So myself, Professor Levent Altinay, Editor-in-Chief of the Service Industries Journal. If I were to start with a bit of statistics, the impact factor of the journal is 9.4. It's a Q1 journal, and then the CITE score is 10.8. It's Service Industries Journal is the first one of the first journals devoted to services, launched in 1980s, 80 or 81. It is a multidisciplinary journal publishing papers across a wide range of service sectors, if I may to say. Now, what we have a number of principles as we operate. One of which is we strongly believe in change, and we constantly challenge what we have been currently doing to be able to improve. One of which is that when it comes to language of communication, one of the things we introduced as an innovative way of taking things forward was to publish the abstracts, titles, and the keywords of the accepted papers in Chinese Mandarin language. We also appointed 2 social media editors who are actively and proactively promoting the value, the added value of the accepted papers on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other social media channels. But more importantly, we strongly believe in the value of investing into capacity development among graduate students, Ph.D. students, and early career researchers. And what we do proactively, again, myself and my team, we are in the field. We communicate with the young scholars proactively. We deliver workshops and seminars in different parts of the world so that we can proactively introduce new research agendas and encourage early career researchers to use or consider alternative methodologies for research. But what is crucial here, and if I may to say, is that we strongly believe in the value of investing into the process of delivering high quality research outputs rather than focusing on the outputs themselves or only outputs themselves. So what we do is that we deliver research seminars, but what we also have done recently, I mean, I can't say recently, actually, it has been 3 years. We have created what we call a PhD or a graduate student track for PhD and graduate students. It's open. It's not a special issue. We have a colleague who's responsible for this track. We encourage graduate students, early career researchers to submit innovative methodology papers as well as literature review papers to this track. And what we have been trying to do is we have been always been tolerant and flexible when it came to giving feedback to the PhD students, to graduate students, so that they can improve. So the idea or the intention there is actually to create a collective, supportive, and collegiate environment for the students, so that they grow in terms of the maturity, research maturity, in a non-threatening, safe environment through receiving feedback from my editorial board members, myself, and the strategy editors of the journal. We are multidisciplinary journal, but we are multidisciplinary journal for a very well defined reason. We are a multidisciplinary journal because we would like to help the researchers, but collectively together with the researchers in different parts of the world, we would like to tackle meaningful agendas in the world. One of which I could say refugee crisis. These are social agendas that we would be very happy to tackle together with the researchers. Climate change is another one. Aging population and loneliness is another one. Informal economy is another one. So what we have been doing is we are encouraging researchers around the globe to use multiple theories from multiple disciplines and do collaborative research so that we can collectively tackle those agendas that would offer some social value, not only to the academics, but also some meaningful messages to the practitioners and policymakers as well. Because we believe as a society, we have a collective responsibility to respond to the growing problems or increasing problems of the world. And the second thing which I would like to say is about equal opportunities and helping those scholars from developing parts of the world through getting them involved into the process of receiving research training. And myself as an editor and my team, editorial board members, proactively go to different parts of the world, and we organize seminars for early career researchers and PhD students to support their training, because we would like them to be able to submit journals such as Journal of Service Research, Journal of Service Management, Journal of Services Marketing, and service theory and practice, as well as service industries, through receiving the culture of developing research and benchmarking themselves against the international quality benchmark. Finally, what I would like to say is that PhD training is extremely important. Early careers development is extremely important, and these scholars need to think about their research in relation to their career progression. And when they are thinking about their career progression and research, what they need to do is to think about research in relation to 2 or 3 different other dimensions as well. And we would be very happy to help these scholars through investing into the process of capacity development. So research, when we are talking about research, when it comes to topic selection, we always advise students to think about topic in relation to the literature review. My advice to the PhD students and early career researchers is also to think about the research in relation to those global challenges of the world. So yes, identify a topic, but make sure that you are addressing or responding to a contemporary agenda. That's one thing. The second thing is that I advise them to do is, yes, think about research, but think about research with regards to global impact. Not what impact it could generate in a specific region of the world, but think about the implications globally. And finally, please do not think about your end users only as academics, or the end users of your research as academics. We got to think about other stakeholders as well. This could policymakers, practitioners, as well as our students in the classroom. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. you've heard of a number of opportunities, and I just wanted to call your attention to in the chat, I posted a link on SERVSIG that has different conferences and events that are coming up. And we have Naples Forum coming up in Ravello, Italy in early June. Then we have Frontiers at University of Maastricht. There'll be a doctoral workshop the day before that conference, and I'll be there as a representative of SERVSIG as a mentoring officer to help out. Ming-Hui has also mentioned a number of different opportunities. And then following that, I'll be co-chairing a track at the TCR conference in London. That's closed now, but if you're going to be there, by all means, come, please say hello and consider TCR conferences in the future, as there's always at least one TSR track, Transformative Service Research track. And those tracks look specifically for a PhD student and or a very early career assistant professor or postdoc. That's part of the sort of track requirements and parameters. And then SERVSIG in 2024 is going to have its conference in Bordeaux at Kedge Business School. That was announced recently. So I don't know of anyone who doesn't like being in Bordeaux. So that should be an attractive venue, but it's also a fantastic conference. The last one this past summer or last summer was in Glasgow, which was an amazing conference as well. So the two general, I would encourage you very, very strongly to post your questions in the chat function, and I'll present them to the panel. There are two broad topics that I'd like to talk about. The first one is publishing in your journals, which a lot has been talked about already. And then the second thing is, and I believe these two topics are interrelated, is how to become a better reviewer and how to help these editors and co-editors and associate editors make really good decisions on manuscripts. And so the first thing perhaps I'll throw out to the panel, maybe we'll start with Ming-Hui if you don't mind, is, for an author who submits a manuscript and gets a review back, what sort of advice, if they're getting an opportunity to resubmit the journal, what advice would you give them in terms of how to respond to the reviews, how to keep their disposition, how to maintain a positive outlook, how to work with you and your review team and the reviewers in order to make this a good experience?
Okay, I do have the second part of my slide to share, that talking about.
Great.
Okay, let's talking about published in top journals, and I would like to say thank you to Roland Ross for providing ideas for preparing this presentation. And this is very important. Always give credit to people who really help you, who really contribute to your paper, and that is very important. And recently, I'm handling one paper, and the author claimed that the paper is from the doctoral dissertation, but the author is a single author. That is very weird, because how can you be a single author for your doctoral dissertation? So always give appropriate credit to authors who really contribute. That is lesson one I would like to mention. And work on something that is important and something that a stakeholder cares about. And in service, very often that we have multiple stakeholders who recognize who is your stakeholder. And something new, that is novelty always considered, and something that your mother, your father, spouse, or friends would think was interesting. Don't just work on boring papers and that you think you write this because you want the paper, but it's very boring. Don't do that. You won't generate any impact. And then something controversial. Only when something controversial, then you really can dig into it deeply to find something new. Those would be important things. If there's nothing controversial, probably it doesn't need your paper to answer that question. And the writing specifically for JSR, write for JSR and use JSR style. We have our style, but very often we still receive a manuscript that obviously is from JSOM style, not even change a word, exactly the same style from other journal. That's definitely not a good practice, because when you want to write for a specific journal, you need to use the journal style. And it's just also okay to be easy to understand, and very important, even though JSR really try to be global and they try to be more tolerant about culture and the language at disadvantaged authors, but you still need to get your paper copy edited before submitting, because that's important for communication. We can tolerate a lower level, but we cannot tolerate to the level that if your paper cannot communicate with reviewers. And also have colleagues review the paper before you're submitting is always very helpful. And I think here I can cite what Jay said. Don't worry about being copied. If people copy you, it means your paper has the potential. And co-authoring is also very important. Each author needs to have a real contribution to the paper. I think that is very often ignored. Like the doctoral dissertation example I mentioned, that how can you have a doctoral dissertation and you are the single author? That's kind of weird, right? And arrange the order of authors based on contribution, so that you can know. So everybody needs to have a contribution, and their appropriate contribution need to be reflected in the author order. And one final thing is quite interesting, that you may change author order during the review process with solid reasons, but don't try to change the author order after the paper is accepted. That is not accepted by any publishers. And responding to reviews, lots of questions that Andrew asked at the beginning. Reviewers are idiots. We often think that way. When we receive a review, and you just think, oh, this review is just ridiculous. And then very often, in reality, reviews are split. If you have 3 reviews, so all 3 reviews suggest you something different. So altogether, there is a long laundry list of items to do. Then how are you going to handle this? That is very challenging. And in JSR, we ask our editors and AE to provide a roadmap, to provide a summary about how authors can respond to these reviews, because they are often split and they suggest something they are not compatible. But you have to try, as an author, you have to try to respond to them positively. And the suggestion here is you probably can try to respond positively to 80% of their comments, point by point. Point by point is very important. Some junior scholars do not understand what a point by point mean. And then I have one experience that one junior scholar, they respond to the comment just with 1 page cover letter. And then all the reviewers begin to ask me, what happened? Where is the reviews comments, point by point? So point by point means you really have to respond to every single item. But you don't have to agree with all the items. So if you disagree with them, well, our suggestion is no more than 20%, but you need to explain why. And try your best. Respond positively to 80% of their comments. Does not mean you just put all this into your limitation or future research. That is not a positive response. So the nurse reviewer is very important. A lot of junior scholars really doesn't know how to deal with the part, and a senior scholars very often can help. I see a lot of revisions just fail in this part, and understand the decision letter is interesting. You may think this is very easy, very straightforward, but very often junior scholars do not understand what the decision means. So if you receive a major and risky revision, that probably is the best you can get from from all the top journals for the first one. So don't feel bad, don't feel frustrated, don't say that you want to give up your academic career. That's the best you can get for the top journal. And the reject and resubmit means that a heavily revised paper can be resubmitted. That very often is a positive result too, because if the first one review is so split, that's positive, and also there's no hope for you to win the review team's heart, then the editor actually is giving you a chance to rework it, and then so that you can resubmit it. And if you reject without invitation for resubmit, means you cannot submit the same paper. We receive that kind of paper very often, that especially for junior scholar. When we say reject, but we do not invite you to resubmit, and some author will just still do some revision and then resubmit some paper. That won't be processed at all. So if the rejected paper is very different, that you really work very hard, that the paper, you have to come up with a new paper, that is totally, you consider is really a significantly improve a different paper, then you at this time may communicate with the editor about the possibility of resubmission, but never just resubmit a paper that has been rejected. And the improving contribution and the impact. That is very important. I put this one as the last slide because I want to emphasize the importance of this one. Service implications are very important. We are all service journals here, but we are not service context journal. So if you just use service as a context, that is not enough. That cannot show your contribution. Service implication, try to derive service implications for different stakeholders. Then that is the most important thing to show the impact and the contribution of your paper. And the final point is about the ethics. Don't cut your work too finely to increase your number of publications. We see this these days. And this will strengthen your incremental contribution of the individual paper, because each individual paper it does not have a sufficient contribution. I mean, it also threatens your reputation. So if you see, don't try to do that. For every single paper you submit, that should be the best you can do. And don't try to think this paper is so good, so I want to cut this paper into 3 papers so that I can 3 publications. Yes, even if you are successful, you have 3 publications. Each publication has very marginal contribution that won't make your work be impactful. Okay, so this is all the things I would like to share so far with our junior scholars here. Thank you.
Thank you. And if reviewers are idiots, what does that say about us? Because we're all authors too, and reviewers, right? So yeah, thank you very much. Jay, reviewers, having good reviewers is very important, and junior scholars can benefit significantly with their own work and from learning about the field through reviews. What might you say about that?
Yeah, Ming-Hui has covered almost every good points that we should know. Just a couple of things that I could add is that please believe the reviewers are helping you. Reviewers are not gatekeepers. They, as well as the editors, are helping you to polish your diamond. Whatever you're submitting is an uncut diamond, and the reviewers and the editors will polish it in such a way that your diamond is going to shine better. So please do take them in a very positive way in terms of what they are suggesting. And rather than fighting against everyone, see what is good in them and improve your paper. And please don't send to another journal without improving. That's many people unfortunately do that, and try to avoid that because it's such a small community. We all know each other. And probably you're going to get the same reviewer going to review your paper, which was not revised at all, which was rejected from the other journal. Everyone knows that. So please do avoid those kind of mistakes. And even cover letters. A lot of times you get a cover letter which was sent to another journal. I don't know how many times I've found the same cover letter with the name and contact detail of the other editor and send it to me. So make sure that whatever you're sending is well researched through and looked through, not just by yourself. Get somebody else to look through it. Make sure everything what you're submitting is good. Good luck. We are here to help you and support you and guide you and motivate you, and no other purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Rebecca, I found great value in my doctoral training when my advisor would share some of the manuscripts he got for review and ask for my input on them. What sort of, and I found it helped me understand sort of the field and the the literature around some issues and just become a better scholar, and I saw how to craft a paper and what where to look for issues, and that helped me. So I don't know if that spurs any thoughts about for you, but you need good reviewers, right, in your journal. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so at JSM, we aim to have 3 reviewers per paper. It doesn't always work out that way. We will always have a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 3. It's hard to find people to review these days. Some topics we can go through 11 or 12 people asking them before we can find 2 people who have the availability and the knowledge to review, and that can take weeks trying to locate those people. Other topics, there's more people available. So if you're doing research in an area that's a bit of a hot topic, chances are that editors are looking for people with that knowledge to be part of that review team. We do have junior reviewers that come on board. Again, if we've got 3 reviewers, we can afford to have someone who's an ECR or a junior. Just reach out to the editors and we can add you. If you are an author of a paper, you'll automatically be added to the reviewer database anyway. If you've never reviewed before and you don't want to sort of just add your name to the list, speak to your supervisor and say to them, when they get a review for whichever journal you'd like to review for, ask them if you could have a crack at doing that review and then give it to your supervisor, and then your supervisor can take you through it. Or if you do a review, sit with your supervisor and say, what do you think? Have I been too harsh? Have I been too lenient? I find junior reviewers are never too lenient. Sometimes they can be overly critical, simply because you're afraid to do it incorrectly. And so I guess what we're looking for in reviewers is someone who takes that middle ground, that has a level of empathy with the author, but can also pick up those salient topics. Something that's really helpful, I think, to new reviewers is if the author gets the opportunity to resubmit, you get to see not just the responses to your reviews, but you get to see the responses to the other reviewers. And I know that as a reviewer, I really like seeing what the other reviewers say, because then it makes me go, oh, nailed it. I picked up the same thing, or, oh, wow, I didn't see that. And that's interesting. So I learn as a reviewer and as an author as well. So there are many ways to get experience. But if you want to be added to the reviewer database, you just simply email the editor and say why, what your field is, and that you'd like experience. And I know that I email out my associate editors and say, hey, we've got this new reviewer that's come on board. They're a junior reviewer. Go easy on them, and make sure that you put them with 2 more senior reviewers so that we get the 3. But yeah, just get started. You don't need to wait until you've got your PhD to get some review experience.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Chatura, I know that I've never received a review where I didn't read it and feel like a little bit of a gut punch, right? So we all take that initial sort of, right-hand cross, and then the advice is to take a couple of days off and come back. And I think, as Ming-Hui had pointed out, and other people, to bring a more positive view to it, maybe, even share it with a colleague or 2 and try to think about how to approach things. So what's your general advice for how to respond to a review and how to deal with a manuscript that might be invited for resubmission?
Yeah, I think, it is often a tense experience, as you said, Andrew, when you receive the reviewer comments may sound harsh due to the tone, and you may feel overwhelmed by all the expectations of the reviewers. So it's always good to take a bit of a break, read through the whole feedback, but take a bit of a break, and after a couple of days have a fresh look at the comments, and you often find that it's not that bad after all. The reviewer comments are always challenging because it's their job to be critical. But what I always tell my reviewers is okay, look for any flaws. If there are fundamental flaws, yes, then it is a major problem. But if there is, if they see some opportunity, if there is some novelty in the idea, and there is a possibility for the paper to be recovered and with a positive outcome, for them to be giving more and more guidance, explain a path forward for the publication to be successful at the end. From the author's point of view, I think making it as comprehensive as possible is very, very critical. Ming-Hui earlier referred to how comprehensive the response document needs to be. Sometimes I have seen response documents that are longer than the manuscript itself. So, that's of course maybe an exceptional case, but it's not so uncommon to find response documents that are 20, 30 pages long. So that often you require that level of detail in responding to comments, and there is very little to lose by giving a very point-by-point detailed response. And one of the main reasons papers get rejected during the second and third rounds is because reviewers get frustrated that their comments have not been adequately addressed. Therefore, it's not just a matter of addressing the comments, but it's also the psychology of the reviewer. Reviewers have to be convinced that the authors put very, very good effort, faithful effort at addressing all the questions. So think about the frame of mind that the reviewers are in, their psychology, and try to make sure that the reviewer feels that yes, in that situation, even if you have not addressed few of the comments, the reviewer might still be in a positive frame of mind just because of the effort that you put forward, and the reviewer might be more likely to give a positive recommendation.
Great, thank you. We are sort of really over a little bit, but briefly, Levent, is there anything you'd like to add about to this particular audience of young services scholars on how best to, make impact with their work?
Well, how best to make impact of their work? That's a very, very good question, and I would say the destiny of any research project is determined right at the beginning of the research process, when the students, early career researchers or PhD students, graduate students select their topic. So their innovativeness and creativity is essential. So when you are thinking about your topic selection for your thesis, you got to think along the lines of how to make it creative and innovative. And the way to do that is actually to think how you can make your research more inter or multidisciplinary, and see how you can draw upon theories outside of management or even service management, and go maybe beyond services and look at areas such as sociology, psychology, geography, law, you name it, in terms of social sciences. That's one thing. The second thing is that I would say is that as you are tackling the research topic, after you choose an innovative topic, you got to think about innovative methodologies, and you got to think what innovative methodology you could use to be able to add rigor as well as value to the research project that you would be tackling. And experiments are becoming increasingly popular nowadays, and I would encourage PhD students to look into it. I mean, even if you don't develop expertise, try to collaborate with individuals who can actually add value to your research, not only in terms of the methodology, but also bringing a different social science perspective to what you have been trying to tackle. The other thing I would advise to my graduate students is that getting your degree, PhD, is just the beginning of the journey. It's not the end. Therefore, what we need to think towards the end of their PhD journey is how they can develop project ideas in such a way that their thesis will give them an opportunity to exploit new avenues. In other words, how can I build upon my track record of success in the future? Because like I said, PhD is only the beginning of the journey. It's not the end of the journey. Finally, when it comes to generating wider impact, please make sure that you try to write pieces that could help you to target different audience groups that would generate wider impact and that could possibly go beyond academia. And be marketable. Use all the channels to market your research. Use all the platforms to market your research, but be modest as you are doing that. Do not try to overstate things, over-exaggerate things. Marketing is not just about selling things, it's also being able to delivering value to the end users that you would be targeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rebecca had to leave, unfortunately. She had work. It's early morning there. And I know a lot of people here are late night. So thank you very, very much for everyone to tuning in. Thank you particularly to our editors, Jay, Ming-Hui, Levent, Chatura, Rebecca. Thank you very, very much for coming. The last thing I just want to remind everyone here before we sign off is that as a mentoring officer at SERVSIG, I've also created a matching program for mentees and mentors. And if you're interested in becoming a mentee, I've already received a lot of messages from folks. If you want to become a mentee, just send me an email. I'll add you to the list. We're trying to come up with a great way of matching. I'm particularly interested in mentors because we have a lot more mentees than mentors. So we're looking for mentors. So if you know of someone, please spread the word. This is an informal process. We'd probably meet once or twice a year as a group just to recap and to see how things are going. But we'd like to, offer that service as well. So thank you very much. This webinar is concluded, but thank you very much for tuning in. This will be posted to the SERVSIG website as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.